Howdy, howdy, folks. Let's see if I'm very good at StreamYards. We'll see how it. What's up, Defend? How you doing, my brother? You want to come on up? Cause there's a lot of shit on that damn um that old deal that just now it bothers me. Anybody wants to come up? Just invite. Let me see. Okay. Let me see if I can put this in the post comment. Paste. There we go. We'll see if I can do this. And thank you, Defend. I appreciate you showing up, brother. More. Um, I'm still real curious about the whole legalities of everything that happened with Freeman. Now, I invited them. How did I get them up? Anyway, there's a link to the yard link, and I'm just I still can't wrap my head around the legalities and how they can dilute the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, or any amendment. All right, we got a guest. Here we go. Add to the stream.
What's up,
Can you hear
cowboy?
me? What's up, my brother? Thank you for coming up.
Uh, yeah, it's. I think it's. I think it's dangerous, um, to come up with the assessment, analyzing, and you know, interjecting with the different points of view as far as verbiage and everything. Because when I look at a situation, more so now than I ever have, um, I look at it as a layered cake, right? So
Right,
you saw you and Andrew and Joe Black talking about Freeman, Freeman and the cop and Freeman. As from the moment Freeman walked up onto the scene, it's more than that. It's a layered cake. What was the officer doing at that point in time? Was he standing there just shooting the breeze on his phone, or maybe looking up at the sky, or writing a note, whatever the case was? No traffic stop, just on a corner. No, that wasn't the case. There was an actual traffic stop that was directed by a police officer. Clearly, the individual who was driving that vehicle was not free to leave, right? So
hold
now,
on. Hold on just a second. Dolly, I love you too. I don't know what you're talking about, present company, but if you're talking about Defend, that's my brother. So just so you know, go ahead, Defend. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
who
seen something in the chat.
were you just talking to?
Nolly D.
Well, there's history with Noli D. Whatever. It's not about Noli. Noli wants to make it about herself, but it's not about Noli. So,
Nope.
um, this, so I think we can agree that the impetus for the interaction was the cops were in the performance of their duty, right? They were performing a duty. Now, we don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if I had to answer like a written answer to the question, what did I see on that video? I saw a police officer with doing some interaction on a hood, writing paperwork, whatever the case may be, right? And
Right.
what was that paperwork? It could be a ticket, right? There could have been somebody in the front seat of that white car waiting for their ticket, right? I would gander not.
No.
More often in my experience, particularly when there's state patrol and the local, whether it be sheriff or the county, city cop, whatever. I don't know what it was. And one is in the back with the door open where there would be a prisoner or an arrested individual, right? James could have just come walking up onto the scene, and he could have just been putting his hand on the driver's head, seating him into the back seat, reaching over, grabbing the seatbelt, tuck the seat, click the seatbelt in, and boom, there's James. The officer notices him, whatever the case is. They have their exchange, and he says, "Hey, whatever, blah blah blah." At that moment, remember that just because that individual per se is arrested and in the back seat of that car, that traffic stop is not over. A tow truck still has to come and pick up that vehicle, and the cop has to stay until that vehicle is taken away.
Yep.
Right? That typically
Yes.
is that not your experience of how that scene typically goes?
No argument there.
Okay, so proceeding on. So I'm going to guess that the individual was already arrested for whatever reasons. Could be drugs, not licensed, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Um,
Welcome, Joe.
Now the question is,
Go.
was he really interrupting the police officer? Was the police officer just picking a fight with James, right? And using his authority, hey, go over there, do whatever, right? And James is like, hey, you got to put up tape. You got to put up tape. The other cop is there. He's there. They're like, fuck, we got to wait for the tow truck and this and that. And we still haven't done the property inventory report for the items inside the vehicle. There's still shit we got to do, right? We don't know if this is this guy's angry brother. We don't know. We don't know anything whatsoever, fucking ever, right? It could have been the guy's neighbor who was just driving down the road, to get some food or whatever, to go back to the house or whatever. He sees his neighbor's car pulled over there. He's gonna go over there and whatever is gonna happen, right? There are nut jobs out there. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. There's nut jobs. Yes.
So please speak up at any point in time. I can communicate with you with this without like the two or three other people overlapping or whatever and everything. I just want to make sure
No.
that I'm not over speaking you, brother.
No. No. You're good, brother. I'm listening to what you got to say.
Okay, so um, and this is all extremely subjective. I am no way a lawyer. I am in no way an expert just because I've got a couple of. I've taken the ride a couple of times, neener, way
Right.
more than a couple. But um, so moving on from okay, now the prisoner is secured in the car, right? Both cops aren't worried about that white car. There is nobody in the front seat of that white car. There is no considerations given whatsoever of whether that white car is just going to drive away or if the guy in the white car is going to get out and just pop off a couple of fucking bullets, right? While the cops got their backs turned to the car dealing with Freeman. No idea of anything, with no consideration towards that car whatsoever during that whole video did I see not even an officer at any point in time turn back with their flashlight and look to make sure that the driver was still in the car. That's why I'm telling you, more than likely, in my opinion, there was not a driver in that car. That driver had already been cuffed and stuffed.
I agree.
Okay. So, bear with me a second here. So now, going along with the belief that because there is no attention on that vehicle, right? And that the individuals are, he is secured. He's cuffed. He's in the back of the cruiser or whatever. He is secured. Now
Right.
the issue is James. And they're saying, hey, I don't mind if you record. Cops thinking, all you're going to get is a fucking tow truck coming and me doing some, possibly property inventory report, right? Or finishing up
Okay.
paperwork, whatever the case may be. But I
Okay.
need you, while I'm completing the rest of my duties here, to do so away from me. When a cop does that, whether it's lawful or it's unlawful, whether it's a request or it's not a request, it is absolutely a sizing up. He is sizing up the individual he is communicating with, A, to determine if they're going to be compliant. If you're not going to be
Agree.
compliant, you're going to be you have now just entered the realm of being adversarial. And if you're
Just
adversarial, then you are not in the interest of the police officer's safety. Can we agree?
not
From the cop's
necessarily,
point
but
of from
I
the cop's point of
understand.
view, from the cop's point of view, not ours, not splitting hairs, from the cop's point of view, right? I'm talking to you. You're not looking like you're going to be compassionate or understanding or considerate, or from my point of view as a police officer to you, that you're not going to allow me to be comfortable enough to continue the rest of my duties.
Uh,
I'm not asking you if it's reasonable or anything. I'm asking you if you can see that
I
perspective.
know. No, I understand where they're coming from, but to me, it's not reasonable.
Fair enough. That's your opinion. Let's take it a little step further, or continuing on. Now he comes up to James. They have their interaction, right?
Yes,
James isn't even. There's no focus on James in regards to the event that is occurring. The
hold
focus
on
that
just
you
a
that
second, defense.
the focus
Hold
the focus.
on. Tom, I don't know how to help with any funding with James or anything like that. This is just a discussion on what happened, the legalities, and everybody's perception.
It would be my recommendation for anybody that wanted to find out more information about this event in Tucson, Arizona, to check out Tuck Police Suck, Clash with Bow, Pikes Peak Auditor,
Yep.
Rogue Nation, any of those channels, maybe all of those channels, to see if there is any updates and or calls for action or whatever the case may be. Those are
But
those are
just
the those are the best offers I can give the chat. I don't know if that's what they're
but just
asking,
to be
right? They're asking how to help James.
yeah, yes.
Okay.
But just to be clear, this is not a fundraiser for his bail or anything else. It's a
No,
discussion on
yeah, this is
what
just
happened.
dialogue about the event that we witnessed or
So
reviewed
go
on,
ahead, defend.
on
I'm
the
sorry,
video.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
So the other thing that I noticed was that there wasn't any information from James. He didn't say anything, make any references, and I'm not saying he had to or he didn't. What I'm saying is as a viewer, I did not see, and he may have. Again, I can't understand all of that shit going on and the whole mental process and everything to enough of a degree, right? Like you guys talking about pikes coming up and stuff and everything, or like that was all filling in blanks for me, right? So, but I did not, while watching that, see any reference or any focus from James about the white car outside of the fact that he pointed out it's a traffic stop. See the sidewalk, and they're going to put this tape up and they're going to put it out in this way unreasonable distance, perimeter, create this perimeter with this unreasonable distance, all because they don't want to be recorded, right? That was the only reference coming from James. So now we have no concern from the cops about that white car, and we have no reference from James about that white car, hence the actual traffic stop, outside of referring to it as this is a traffic stop, because that's what he believed when he walked up onto the scene.
Right.
So, going from there, the next thing I notice is, well, why isn't there, or what is actually going on there? Is that white car actually a ghost car? Is it an undercover car? Is it just one of those ghetto beaters the cops drive around when they do their little buy bust or whatever? Is it right? We didn't see anybody in handcuffs being put into the car or anything else. We just saw what looks like the tail end of somebody being put into a car. The police officer being in that bent over position, possibly reaching over for this, seatbelt kind of like deal or whatever. Or maybe the individual was inside the state trooper's car already. Maybe the cop was just trying to find an evidence bag, right? We see that shit all the time.
Right.
So from there, the interaction turns to okay, and I'm just going to say the sheriff, the sheriff deputy, right, versus the state cop. The older guy being the state cop, the younger guy being the sheriff's deputy. So the sheriff's deputy goes up and engages with James, right? He does not
Right.
do anything whatsoever. He could have walked up and grabbed James and just started rifling through his pockets to see if he had anything inside his pockets, or even if it was legal or unlegal. Those things could have been done. Lord knows we've seen enough of those things being done, right? But he didn't.
Right.
He walked up. There was one point where his hand reaches out towards James. I don't know if he's pointing down at the ground and telling him he's got to back up or something like that or whatever. I don't know what that was about. But up until the old man, the state trooper, shined his flashlight around like a half moon crescent sweep to see if there was, I believe he was doing that to see if there was any signs, any prohibitions, something he could point to and say, hey, sir, you're in a park. You see that sign? You're going to get arrested for being in a park after dark. Anything. But once he realized that he couldn't see that there was nothing there was nothing to point to. Or he could have been looking for something to tie a tape to. Right?
True. Yeah.
The sheriff's deputy never made a move, took the flashlight in the face, all the way up until that state trooper put that tape up. Once that tape was up and it was defined as an unresolved, whatever it was, traffic stop. I mean, that white car could have been a drug bust ghost car, and there could have been an on the sidewalk drug deal, buy bust or whatever. We don't know
Yep.
anything about that. However, what we do know is that a tape was put up.
Yep.
So in a certain sense, I think somebody arguing the situation, be playing devil's advocate, the putting up of the tape was a form of de-escalation. It was, okay, you want a tape. I still got a job to do here. We're not finished here, right? I need to know that you're going to stay out of the way. You want the tape? No problem. We'll put the fucking tape up. So that could be
Well,
viewed as a form of de-escalation. Would you not agree?
no, I would disagree with that.
Listening
And
to listening to a citizen making a demand for something to be done and complying with that demand is not a form of a de-escalation or an offering of the olive branch, so to speak. Okay, we'll put the tape up. You know about the tape, then you know
I
you
mean,
should be on the other side of the tape. Say again.
brother, I hear where you're coming from, and I understand what you're saying, and I can see the reasoning behind it. But just like what not now played at the end of his stream, it says we have the right to record video and audio. Once you push me back past an unreasonable point, I cannot get that audio. So, regardless of
I
whether it was a ghost
I
or
absolutely
whatever,
I I absolutely agree with the conceptualization or the perspective that the the advantage of the viewing advantage and or capturing the audio due to the being geographically pushed further away is a common tactic by cops. No doubt you're not going to get any arguments from me in regards to that. We've seen it a million times. Okay.
right?
However, let's take it another step further here. So they put the tape up. The second that tape goes up, and you can see it in the video, not now, maybe
Yes,
later, backed it up. I believe it was either you or Joe Black. I'm not certain. Um, but asked about somebody crossing the street, right? And it was actually the cop with the tape
yep.
going behind the back of the cruiser crossing the street, correct?
Well, he went in front of the car across the street. He went in
Again?
front of the white car.
Oh, okay. He went in front of the white car because that's where he brought the tape around to the right. Okay, gotcha. But if you noticed the back of where the tape when the tape was installed, when it was put up at the very back of the state trooper's car on that corner pole, right?
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
yes,
So he had to walk around James, right?
yes,
I don't
yes.
care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. You have to at least, at a minimum, consider that you have a individual with a camera barking orders, already escalating things as far as the officer gauging the level of potential threat. Now the
No
flashlight
argument.
wars. Now the flashlight
Yep.
wars. The tape is still being put up. The cop is walking around James. He's going to the other side, right? The sheriff's
Yes.
deputy is still trying to be chill, trying to be like, look, look, he's even closing his eyes and turning his head a little bit, right? And he's got his flashlight up. James makes an order. He says, stop shining the flashlight in my face. I'll stop shining it in yours. Correct?
No argument. But I
No,
don't find that
I'm
unreasonable
making sure that
neither.
I understood it correctly.
That's why I perceived it. Yes.
Okay. And again, the officer makes an attempt. And maybe using the word de escalation, it kind of leads to like a different understanding or whatever, but tries to lighten the situation by saying, okay, dude, I get it. You don't want the flashlight in your face.
Hold on a minute.
Right?
Hold on. Patrick, DeCambry, if that's your opinion, that's your fucking opinion. But you're not going to talk shit on my brother up in here. The Finn has always held his word and his contract with me. And if you don't like it or don't like what he's got to say, maybe you got to find somewhere else to be. He points out some good shit. And if you don't like it, go eat somewhere else. Period.
So, Cowboy, do me a
Go
favor.
ahead. Yes, sir.
Let them say whatever. Let the asshats say what they want to say. Nobody has to like me. Whatever. If anything, maybe to learn something or getting an opposing view or something else to consider in their assessment of the situation. They're gonna make it about me. Just ignore it, bro. Let them say whatever the fuck they want to say. Don't let them fuck up your content or the conversation you want to have. That's my
Well,
opinion. I've been dealing with this for so long, brother. I appreciate your sense of respect. I understand it's your channel and everything, but understand you don't have to on my part.
hey, brother, me and you had a discussion a long time ago. You held your end of the deal. I've held my end of the deal. And Patrick, I don't know you on a personal level. I do defend, and he's always upheld my his end of the shit. And I ain't got to earn a goddamn thing from you. If you don't like it, leave, unsubscribe, and fuck off. Plain and simple. I ain't earning shit. My character and my content earns what I am. And if you don't like it, you know where the door is at. Go ahead, defend.
So I just want to go back in the chat now. It's got my attention. Unknown Target says Freeman never initiated contact. The cop did. I disagree.
Yes,
You don't have to use your voice to initiate contact. Your presence can be initiating contact.
I
So by
disagree with
James
that, but
Freeman,
I can see where you're
huh?
at. I said I would
So
disagree with that, but I
okay,
see where you're at.
I'm taking it from a hard of hearing deaf perspective. Okay, without having
Yeah.
sound, doesn't matter if you say, "Hey, I'm standing over here. I want you to know I'm here." If the person's deaf, the initiation of contact or the awareness of that contact is by your choice to make yourself present for me to become aware of your presence. He could have just kept on walking down the street, nowhere's near the cops. So he did initiate the presence. He put himself in that scene. Whether it was the scene per se in between the two cop cars or 100 feet away, he was still able to be recognized by the cop and became a concern. That's my take. And again, just opinions here. So now I think we already agreed that the sheriff's deputy made no um he didn't put the gear, he didn't engage the gear, he didn't shift up a gear to enforcement, right? A level of force to be used. In fact, they gave him another chance. And
Agree.
once that tape was up, it was okay, I've got a job to do and there's no more fucking around here. I put a tape up. I stopped playing flashlight wars with you. I haven't raised my voice to you. I haven't called you shut the fuck up. I didn't use demeaning verbal tactics of command or control. Didn't do any of that stuff. And you are still not coming down. You are still not meeting me somewheres where I can say, hey, I appreciate you staying on the other side of the tape. Oh, by the way, we're just waiting for a tow truck to come. You're
Well,
not giving me
Patrick
that
the
opportunity.
Camry,
You're keeping that level of threat open. That's what I saw.
no, I'm going to address the chat. Patrick the Camry, I fuck myself every day. And if you don't like it, you know where the door is at. That's all I got to say. And defend, I might hear what you're saying. But I also suggest once they put the tape up behind Freeman, Freeman was part of the crime scene. So they're destroying evidence by running him out or arresting him or defacing his video footage. Once you put up a crime scene tape, whatever's inside that tape is part of the crime scene. Do
So
you understand my
I,
logic or thought there?
I get what you're saying, and I recognize the interplay of, well, they kind of made it a little complicated. They probably more than likely should have, but it wasn't ideal to them. But they more
No.
than likely should have brought that tape right from that pole right to those short three little poles that were four or five, three little whatever short poles that were right there in line of sight of James and that cop when he was in the back seat area. wrapped it around that, and continued on. Now, James would have been behind the
Yeah,
tape, right? And all would have
yeah.
been good. I get that.
But
However,
I also agree once the tape
however,
was up.
what is your suggestion? How do they handle James being the variable of now crime scene evidence? Taking another step forward for me. That's I get your point,
You
but not whole.
you got a
I don't get
point
the
that
whole
I
thing.
didn't look past. You got a
Say
point I
again.
didn't look past. He's part of the scene. So is he detained? Is he evidence? Is he booked? I follow what you're saying there, brother. Uh, and
And I
it's
don't
an
have an
argument
answer
I
for
ain't
that.
got an
I
answer
don't
to.
have an answer for that. I mean, I have some conceptualizations or possibilities or that but nothing that I can concretely add to. So
No,
when
I'm right there with you. I mean, what can you do with? No, I follow what you're saying. And like I said, it was something I didn't look past. It was just,
an
hell, if
observation.
nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead.
It was an observation you made. You made an observation. Well, they kind of pickled the situation, right? They put him in the middle of it, but they're trying to throw him
Yeah,
out of it. And there is some
yeah,
obligatory, some obligation because he's now a part of it. So does that make James
yeah.
camera evidence to that stop?
Not without a federal warrant. His camera is not evidence, or a signed warrant from a judge. But no, I hear what you're saying, and like I said, that was a defense of James because even though he spoke the way he did and everything else, I I I'm sorry, I still don't think he is wrong.
Bottom line,
He
I
might have
agree
been
with
he
you.
might have could have handled it different.
I agree with you as a person, as to my personal opinion, right? And this is
Right?
why. If the cops had enough time to go and do the tape, putting the tape up dance and make that whatever, what you got the white car, a little space between the white car and the sheriff's deputy car, a little space between the sheriff's deputy car, the state trooper's cruiser, and the remainder of the curve of the corner, right? So, how many feet would you say that is? A car
At a
being what,
minimum
10,
of
12 feet
20
long?
feet
10, 12 feet long
from the
for a
post
car?
I could well from the
Go ahead.
post that I could see in front of James,
An
the
estimation. I'm not asking
sidewalk.
for like,
Well, no, I'm just going off of the distance of the post and from the last post to the sidewalk and the sidewalk distance. I'd say James was at least 25 foot away from him, in my opinion.
I know the distance of James to the car. I got a guesstimation of that, right? I can get that from my
Okay.
experience from filming and the three poles, the spatial difference between however many short little poles, little poles I'm talking about, right?
Right. Yeah. The white ones.
I thought they were yellowish, but irrespective, they were probably 2.5 feet, 3 feet off of the ground,
Yep.
right? Might have looked like a bicycle rack at some point in time or something or whatever. But in any event, I'm talking if you had a tape measure in your hand and you were at the pole and you walked along the sides of the vehicles to the front of the white vehicle, what would you guesstimate that distance was?
From where James was standing to the front of the white
No,
vehicle.
not from where James was standing. From the pretend James isn't there. From the
Okay.
pole, from the pole, take a tape measure from the pole, like one of those rolly tapes, and back up along those cars all the way to the front of the white car. What is that distance?
From what cars are we talking? The cop cars, and what pole are we talking about? I'm not
Okay.
understanding there.
Okay. The back of the cruiser of the state trooper car, the silver car.
To the
right?
Front of the white car.
To the front of the white car. If you drew a line right over the cars and everything else from the state trooper's trunk to the hood of the white car, what is that distance? Not the distance
75
of
foot.
James to it, the length of the cars.
75 foot between the distance of the cars and the space
Okay.
in between them. I'd
So
say
we
it was
can
between 50 and 75 foot.
okay, and that's a straight line, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now so we can agree that it was more than 75 feet of tape from that pole to a
Yes.
angle line behind James, angle line all the way to the front of the white car, right? So we know that was much longer. That was definitely longer than those cars being lined up in a row.
Yes.
So the cop had enough time to do this dance with James, lying in wait, waiting for that officer, the state trooper, to take that tape and walk all the way around James and all the way up to the front of that white car, right?
And
Which would have been
across the
more
street.
than which, in my opinion, would have been more than enough time for that state trooper to say, "Hey, we got a situation here. We need some, we need some backup or whatever the case might be." Two cops would have showed up. Another cop would have showed up. One or two, whatever the case may be, and they would have stood watching those cops back. The tow truck would have fucking came. It would have been a done fucking deal. But no, they chose to handle it themselves as a show of force because they could not come down from thinking fucking logically, especially when they realized that James was not going to back down. It did not have to go the way that it fucking went.
Brother, I agree. I agree. I believe, and I understand why James was as confrontational or adversarial as he was, because I've seen it with him and Bow and a bunch of others. When you're passive with them and don't get forceful, then they bulldoze you. But then again, on the flip side of the coin, when you stand on your rights and you know what's up, and you get forceful with them, then they come back with greater force. It's a catch-22 situation. Hello, Joe Black. Welcome to the stream.
Oh yeah, I just came up to help with visuals.
Hey, Joe.
Hello. I've got
Hold
I'm
on.
showing screen at the moment with the picture of the distance of the cars that you were talking about.
Unknown target. They never told him he was detained. They did tell him if he did not comply, he was under arrest. Get that through your head. And no, the cop was coming at him. Whether you want to say Freeman turned to run or the cops were just lunging at him, Freeman told him to fuck off. Cop tried shoving him back. James JJ, I don't understand that statement, but no, they never told him he was detained. They told him if he did not comply, he was under arrest, and then they went into arresting him.
And
So
that
go
is
ahead.
why. And I'm sorry. Was Joe going to say something?
No, like I said, I'm just here to provide help with visuals.
So if um there's somebody in chat that makes reference to that, this situation could be looked at as entrapment. And I am inclined to agree. I don't know how far or, what good that does in totality with all of the aspects of the event, but putting tape up around somebody to require them to be outside of the tape and then proclaim that they were interfering is entrapment. Um,
I agree. And
You know,
unknown target. I did not say I agreed with the way the cops handled it. I said the cops told Freeman if he did not get on the other side of the tape, he would be arrested. They told him two, three, four times. And I'm on James's side. Don't get me wrong. I'm here to advocate for James. I'm just saying if we're going to have a legitimate, logical discussion about what happened, then fucking
if anybody thinks that I am anti James rather than pro James, they are severely skewed in their beliefs. I am thinking in my head, should my asshole be really clenched tight right now and scare and fear of the total outcome for James, or what is the reality? What is the more than likely of the situation? Is there a leg to stand on from my experience? Not a factual basis, not a cop hating, auditor hating basis. Look, I'm blocked on James Freeman's channel.
what?
I've met James Freeman in the flesh. I've worked with James Freeman. I have no ill will towards James Freeman as a person, and I don't believe he may have a perspective of of an adversarial position towards me, but he doesn't have anything in a founded belief as to an action I've taken against him or he has taken against myself. So you would be whoever, if there is anybody who is thinking that I'm Freeman hating here, you'd be very wrong. Very wrong. I'm just pointing out the various different elements that my path has led my thought process to develop to be or to utilize.
Now,
In no
Tom
way,
did
shape, or
point
form.
out, Tom Belzar, I hope I pronounced that right, did point out a good thing or something to look at and to consider. Why did they only put up the tape around and behind Freeman, but not down the other side of the street? They did cross the street with the tape in front of the car, but not down the other side. So if Freeman would have walked to the other side of the street, he'd have been good.
No, they put it on the other side of the street.
Here's the
Oh,
problem
they
with that.
did?
Yeah.
Here's the problem I have with that. We don't know because it didn't happen. It's not up for debate.
Well, you got a
What?
Are you
point
getting
there,
what I'm saying,
too.
cowboy?
Yeah,
Huh?
no, I hear you, brother.
So, I mean, we can tear this thing out with, you know, all kinds of different perspectives outside of what we have to work with, and we're not anywhere as closer than we do with what we do have to work with. I hope
Right.
we can agree on that.
Yes, sir. And James
Okay.
Jacobson, you're right. Um, they pushed him to a point. James stood his ground, and the consequences of standing his ground befell him. Yeah. And my hat's off to him. Not very many motherfuckers are willing to take the ride when they know they're right. Just saying.
So the whole force deal, right? Where was the state trooper? Where was the state trooper? And I don't want you to jump to why I'm asking the question or whatever. I just want the answer to the question. Let's start there. The state trooper puts up the tape, right? And then he walks
Mm-hmm.
behind the sheriff's deputy. The sheriff's deputy says, "Time to get froggy," and engages, kicks that gear in, that enforcement gear, that level of force, right? Where was the
Yep.
state trooper? Was that the time that Pikes made his presence known? So he went to go and deal with that? Is that why he wasn't there? Why wasn't 2-on-1 with James to
Yes.
subdue him, in the quickest, fastest, lowest amount of force, whatever, with whatever their intent was to arrest or not, or whatever the case was? What I'm saying is the addition of the extra variable of a person
Yep.
coming to the scene,
I,
making their presence known, yelling and screaming. I got my transcript, something about citizens arrest, right? Clearly a cop's not saying that. And I don't know if there were other people, if Rogue Nation was with Pikes or whatever. I only saw you guys making reference to Pikes singularly, right? So I'm going on the basis that it was just Pikes. I've worked with
that's my
Pikes.
understanding.
I have
That's
a
my
history with Pikes.
understanding.
I know Pikes' propensity to be actively engaged in a aggressive manner. Okay. So
I agree.
I'm going to assume, and that's physically and verbally, however you want to take it. I don't know. I couldn't see what he was doing, so I can't say physically or whatever. And I'm not going to try and make it a slanted against Pikes or whatever. This isn't a hate, this isn't a hate on hate deal here or whatever. This is just talking about what we have to work with. Right. I'm hoping
Right.
that lending some perspective and kind of just going through what and verbalizing what I saw with my eyes, matching it up with my historical perspective may lend some perspective or opportunities for other individuals watching your stream to think or be aided in their thought process and looking at the situation rather than just making this blanket personal opinion, limited viewpoint, right? It's this knee jerk reaction kind of deal to it. So I'm going to assume that the reason why the trooper wasn't backing up the deputy in dealing with James, which again, remember, adversarial, flashlight in the face. No, fuck you. That we're fighting, bro. Cop or not, as a human being, you are not being, you are a negative. You're not a positive, right? So whenever a cop is dealing with a negative and there's another cop on the scene, that cop is backing up the other cop. That cop was not backing him up. So where the fuck was he? Oh, now the scene was complicated. What you don't know, what I most definitely don't know, what not now maybe later didn't know, and what Joe Black didn't know, and I'm saying the four of us because we were part of this dialogue, this conversation about this event as we were watching this video, is if the sheriff's deputy said, "Oh fuck, there's somebody coming over here on the other side, and he's already fucking ripping, roaring, screaming this. We have no idea if he's got fucking weapons. I got that guy going that way." I think the overall argument is going to be is that they had a multi-threat and that they withheld force up until the extent that an exigent circumstance arose, and that was multiple individuals being a threat to officer safety and still preventing those officers from being able to complete the fucking traffic stop, the paperwork, and the tow. Now, how do you look at it, cowboy?
Uh, Somebody coming from the other side. But now, I won't disagree. James spoke to him in a controversial or adversarial way. Okay, if Pikes was there and come from the other side, Ben Pikes, and me and you both have met him, and we understand Pikes to a degree. Uh, how come that didn't befall Pikes instead of Freeman? I understand what you're saying about multiple threats from multiple
Are you
sides.
are you asking James singularly was the primary, but when Pikes came onto the scene, he became why didn't he become the primary? Why didn't they just let James just stand there and do whatever he wanted? Is that
No,
what you're
I'm
asking me?
saying that if both of them were a threat, how come Pikes ain't in jail? If James was the only threat, uh, I
Is
still
Pikes
don't
in
even
jail?
know he.
Is
Huh?
Pikes in jail?
I
Did,
don't
did Pikes get
know,
arrested?
but my not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, that's why I'm not making any. If Pikes was
Hold on,
arrested,
it
then
said
I would say then that most definitely supports my broadening my viewpoint on the situation as it was occurring. Because
hold on. Now
Cowboy,
there's somebody in the
I
chat.
don't care how much you twist my arm or how much you believe, and you're entitled to your opinion, but you will never be able to convince me that that state trooper said in his mind, you know what, this is kindergarten bullshit. I'm going back to my car. I'm gonna go get a stick of bubble gum.
Right.
Let this
Hold on.
deputy deal with
Now
this with this individual.
we got some
You see what I'm
comments
saying?
here. Yes, I do. For one, Myra says that Pikes was not there. It was Pup, which is pigs under pressure. And then Tom says James is an individual. It does not matter how many show up to film. They cannot shoot James because he was there. Well, they can shoot James because he was there, but it does not take away from his individuality. I hear where you're coming from, Tom, but yes, we watched this, Myra, uh, and
The key
it
word,
was my understanding, and from what I could hear in the background, it sounded like Pikes, and that was my impression. I'm not trying to put Pikes under the bus or none of that shit. What's up, Bart?
I thought not now, maybe
He said
later had
pig.
said that it was Pikes. Pikes has
Well,
a very
that was my
distinctive voice. So
understanding. I wasn't going to throw not now under the bus, but that was my understanding from not now was it was Pikes and not pigs under pressure. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Been there before.
So if we can't
Anybody?
say it was Pikes or it was Pigs Under Pressure, I thought it was Rogue Nation. I thought he was out traveling with Rogue Nation or something to that. But it doesn't matter. We'll just call it the other auditor. Okay, doesn't matter if it was Pikes or if it was Pigs or whatever. But the event itself is the substance is what matters, right? Let's just agree to that extent. Joe Black,
Yes.
feel free to
And
chime in here anytime.
Joe, you've got a request in the chat. If you can screen share and share the
Sharing.
video, please do so.
I am doing so currently.
Cowboy, I'm sorry to be
My
long-winded,
mic is
but I have a pretty expansive thought process. So
brother, it's all good. We understand one another. And anybody else know, that's on them.
Pigs Under Pressure is in the chat on James's video saying, I'll bail you out. I'm on my way as a sniper cameraman.
I'm kind of technologically retarded, or I would play the video and we could discuss it some more.
If you look down a bit, you'll see a second screen also saying Joe Black.
Give me just a second. Let me see. All right, here we go, folks. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the input. Here we go.
That's all right. So if you look here, there's Pigs Under Pressure in the chat saying he's on his way. What was the bit from earlier?
Joe Black, you are fucking amazing, brother.
There is the guy there putting up the tape, and if you just watch him, he does go all the way down here eventually. So he is surrounding it. He is Jay, stop swinging the camera around. There you go. You can see him there, still putting up the tape.
So can I ask a question? Is this James Freeman's video in his chat?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if it was Pigs Under Pressure's video as he was approaching the scene. Thank you for the clarification.
James. So, which bit did someone want me to put up?
I would like you to, if you would be so inclined, if you can fast forward the video to the point where the deputy, it makes a concerted effort or an invested effort. Concerted would mean two, whatever, but um, uh, the level of force moment, the moment where he is going to go hands on with James and then back it up a little bit to see the state trooper walking past him. And then you all can listen to the audio and see if you can hear any presence being made to be known, which would
Um,
explain why the state trooper wasn't backing up the deputy.
Unknown target. Um,
It doesn't have to be like this. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Get your fucking hands off of me. Get your hands off of me. Get your hands off
So it
of me.
would be before this. This would be like the tail end. He puts the tape up, right, and the deputy is still playing friendly with him and still putting up. And now I'm using these terms, putting up with James's rhetoric. Some might call it bullshit. Some might say standing ground. However you want to put, interlace those words, those descriptors. The communication is still a communication of sorts, right? It's not being kicked up by the deputy. I want to see the part.
Joe,
I want to get to the. I want to get to the part before the deputy actually engages with James. Just try to get to the part where the state trooper is seen in the background walking past the deputy, and then you guys, I'm depending on you as far as your ears, if you can hear some audible somebody screaming or whatever the case might be.
Joe, unknown target says, please play the part where James turns around to film the cop behind him with audio. Cop is flanking him while putting up the tape. Well, yeah, he's flanking him. He went around behind him. But anyway, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Trying to find which parts you're.
Guys, I got my lawyer on the phone. This is going to be it. I need names of everybody getting sued here tonight. So it's just a traffic stop. We dealt with this case specifically. Now here's the sidewalk. This is a public sidewalk. Now they don't want me filming their traffic stop. So they're going to wrap tape. Oh.
So that was kind of what's shown. It's not much of the cop behind him. It goes.
Okay, just listen through it and see if you can hear any audio coming extraneously from outside the tape.
Guys, I got my lawyer on the phone. This is going to be it. I need names of everybody getting sued here tonight. So it's just a traffic stop. We dealt with this case specifically. Now here's the sidewalk. This is a public sidewalk. Now they don't want me filming their traffic stop. So they're going to wrap tape all around this place because they don't want me to film their traffic stop. Somebody has put it in their mind that if they put tape around an area, that no matter what, that means, see, they're not supposed to be putting up tape though, except to preserve a crime scene. That is the purpose of crime scene tape, is to preserve the crime scene. Say that there's shell casings around. Maybe somebody's been shot and there's blood on the ground there. Maybe there's a DWI accident and we've got skid marks on the road. The purpose of the tape is not to get rid of the camera, it's to preserve the crime scene. So this is going to be Arizona GPS, and yeah, they are going to arrest me.
Joe, can you pause it there for a second?
There.
Yep.
So
yeah, pause it.
So you see James, he's saying the purpose is to preserve the crime scene, right?
He's saying
can it not be interpreted that what they were doing was they were trying to preserve the completion of the duties that they needed to do in order to complete that traffic stop, bring the guy to jail, tow truck comes, whatever the case is.
No, that's not what he's saying.
Okay.
And hold on just a second, y'all. I want to address something in the chat. Myra, that is part of why we're having this panel and discussion, is to get the facts out and shit like that. If you don't like the way it's done, fucking do your own shit. Or come up on the panel and fucking educate us. Just saying. Go ahead.
Joe, before you start that, I wanted to respond to somebody in chat. Um, Tom Ballar's defends, you are working hard to play devil's advocate, but have a lot of great debate points. Tom, again, I hope that you are of the understanding that I am not anti-auditor or anti-James Freeman, and I'll agree with you. While it seems like I'm playing devil's advocate, and there are a lot of points that I see that are coming up from it, none of it is with ill intent, and I just want to be clear on that. So carry on, guys.
Absolutely. And Myra, if Brian Johnson got a video up, we're watching the video right here. And that's what we're discussing, trying to sort it out, trying to pick through it and all that. And if Brian's got a better video and shit, go watch his shit. And if you don't like the way it's going over here, go somewhere else. That's all I got to say. We're here trying to discuss it, figure it out, and learn from it. And if you don't want to do that, don't know what to tell you. Go ahead, Joe. Play the video, please.
Okay.
So my wife will come pick up the car. She's got spare keys. I don't know what they'll book me on. I mean, it's just ridiculous and stupid of them to do this shit. If I had to take a wild guess, what's the go-to every time? Interference. Interference has to be something physical. In other words, interference has to be like he's trying to go from his car to this car to search the car, and I'm physically keeping him from doing so. I'm standing in between him or blocking the door or something like that. So he's this. Where's your supervisor? All you want over there, but not in no perimeter. Where's your supervisor? Get that light out of my eyes now! Get the light out of my eyes now! Get your supervisor now. Get your supervisor before you do anything else. Get your supervisor before you do anything else. I'm telling you nicely, no thank you. There's no perimeter. What are you gonna? No, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Go do your job. Go do your job. Leave me alone. I'm asking you nicely to leave me alone. There's no fucking perimeter. I can be all the way up there on the sidewalk. I gave you a ton of space. I could be up on the sidewalk.
Pause.
I could be on the sidewalk.
Pause.
I gave you a
The problem is he is not on the sidewalk. The cops are actually trying to get him onto the sidewalk. They're trying to get him to the traditional. What's the word there, cowboy?
Public forum.
Public forum. The traditional public
Well,
forum.
hold on.
Or
Now,
yeah, the public forum. Yeah.
James. Now, hold on. Now, there's a sidewalk in front of James, and that's what his flashlight is on. And Bart, I do not have a link to Brian Johnson's page. I'm sorry.
I've got Brian's video up. So we can watch that next.
I've got plenty of Java.
There's a sidewalk in front of James. There's a sidewalk behind James. It just depends on which direction we're going with it, Bart.
Yeah, you're right. The flashlight is pointing at part of the sidewalk. And if you look just over here, just beyond the tape, probably closer to the scene than he is at the moment.
I so wish I was on a PC right now and could see these pictures better. But go ahead. Sorry, guys.
Is that any better?
Much better. Thank you.
So yeah, light pointing at sidewalk. Where the, as you pointed out, I mean, there's probably a better picture of the tape earlier.
Well, actually, where you got it paused right there, you can see the tape in front of the car.
Well, this is a better shot tape. So
here's what I don't get. You see right here in this shot right here, it looks like there's enough room for another cruiser to be between this white car and the furthest left portion of the screen. But yet when you go back, it shows that the cruiser is much closer to the white car, as if maybe they already arrested the dude and the dude was taken and was already transported. Meaning that's why there's that space that we're seeing right now.
All right, we've got a request in the chat to please play the video at 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
2 minutes 33. Okay.
You're gonna get sued. You guys can't just put up tape every time you want to move a camera. No, that's not the way the law works. All right, guys, I got my lawyer on the phone. This is going to be it. I need names of everybody getting sued here tonight.
Right at that moment, James knew he was going for a ride, or there was a strong potential.
This is a public sidewalk.
I agree.
They don't want me doing their traffic stop. So they're going to wrap tape all around this place because they don't want me to film their traffic stop. Somebody has put it in their mind that if they put tape around an area, that no matter what, that means, see, they're not supposed to be putting up tape, though, except to preserve a crime scene. That is the purpose of crime scene tape, is to preserve the crime scene. Say that there's shell casings around. Maybe somebody's been shot and there's blood on the ground there. Maybe there's a DWI accident.
Can we pause this just a second?
Yep.
Now, unknown target says apparently somewhere around 2:33, they tell James he's going to be arrested for interference with their investigation. Can anybody hear that?
I didn't hear that.
You're really funny, cowboy. You know that? You're really fucking funny. That's it. I'm out of this panel. I'm kidding.
I know you are, brother. It's all good.
All right, everyone.
Just trying to lighten the mood.
Closely. Sorry.
What? No. You're going to get sued.
Yeah, he does say you're going to get arrested if you interfere with our investigation. I think those were the words he said.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Is he saying that audibly as he's walking with the tape?
Yes.
Well, then that's not good. In my opinion, that is not good. Because he is not entrapping James. He's telling James, he's giving James the opportunity to get out of what he or the tape is declaring. And I know there still remains the argument if the tape is lawful or not or whatever. But in the context of the entrapment thing and all that that Cowboy and I were talking about before, as to his Cowboy's concern or reference to, they put the tape around him. They made him a part of that scene. I now have to disagree. They requested for James and gave him the directive that if he did not, once they put that tape up, he would then be interfering. What I believe the cop was saying is, if you don't get the fuck out of here, we're going to be able to meet the elements of the charges that are coming on you. And that is why the sheriff's deputy waits, lies in wait, just takes it. And once that tape is up, it's on. Go ahead.
Hear it one more time.
What? No. You're going to get sued.
I'm pretty sure he said you're going to get arrested if you interfere with our investigation. So as long as James doesn't interfere with their investigation, which standing back 20 feet, holding a camera is not interfering.
Joe, I agree. I mean, I've said through this whole process, I don't think James was wrong. I don't think James was unlawful. I think he was a little what's that word there? Defend
Aggressive,
aggressive.
adversarial.
Yeah, adversarial. But I don't think he was wrong, and I don't think
There's no law against being adversarial.
No,
Let's
no. And I
let's be
don't
in
think he
agreement with
was.
that.
Yes. And I don't think he was outside of his realm of. I don't think he was outside the realm of his rights, or even posing a threat to the officers. I believe the officers painted the picture that he was, but I don't, but he was adversarial. No argument
So
there. I believe
let's recognize unknown target's submission in chat. Yeah, I may have misheard it, and that's what this is about. This is about peeling the layers of the onion back and seeing what's actually there, what's actually captured, what's actually provable or contestable. This isn't, there's no right answer right out of the gate. And I appreciate you, Cowboy, for giving us the opportunity to continue to do this. Go ahead.
And hold on, defend. You misheard something? What? What? You
No,
can't hear?
no.
I'm being a dick.
Unknown target stated, yeah, I may have misheard it. That was his words.
I got you, brother. I was still being a dick.
What's the matter? You got a hearing problem?
Huh?
All right, so this is the bit where they are
You on
approaching
the
him.
sidewalk. They're gonna arrest me. What's your name? What's your name? All right. Keep the light down out of my eyes, and I'll keep it out of yours. Go over there. Keep the light out of my eyes. Just keep your light down out of my eyes. You're making. There's no. Shut up, dude. What's your name? What is your name? What is your name? What is your name? Get your supervisor now. I told you to get your supervisor. Now do it. Are you disobeying a lawful order? I'm telling you, step over there. It doesn't have to be like this. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Okay, throughout that, I did not hear the cop complain once about the light. It was James who was saying to the cop, get the light out of my face.
Precisely. But I ask you, Joe Black, if you back this up 30 seconds, you note that the cop deliberately lowers his light and takes a step back.
Or about here?
Sure.
Light down out of my eyes, and I'll keep it out of yours. Keep the light out of my eyes. Just keep your light down out of my eyes. You're making. There's no. Shut up, dude. What's your name? What is your name?
That was about half a step, if anything.
Well, in any event, he's backing away, right? He's leaning back. He's not forward moving.
Well, he was before that. He was stepping forward.
And as soon as James said, "You're pointing a flashlight in my face," and all that, meaning that that's interference with my video recording. The cop is cerebrally understanding where James is coming from, right? So subconsciously, he drops the flashlight and also makes if you want to say a step, we'll just call it a step for conversation's sake, takes a step backwards, de-escalation. That's not escalating, he's de-escalating. But what's going on around them at this time? You see over by the cruiser? Is that the state trooper right there passing? Or is it's a speck of light there? Yeah. There goes the state trooper. Now, right at that point, stop. where does the influence the extra variable of the other auditor come in? Is it around this point?
I haven't really heard anybody else apart from
I
three
never
people.
heard. I
Yeah.
never heard anybody else. I was just, my understanding from that now stream was Pikes was there. That was my understanding. I never heard it, never seen it, or anything like that.
So if you want to hit play, my focus is what is the interplay between the sheriff's deputy with the flashlight right now on screen, and to the left of the screen, somewheres around there, is the state trooper. Why are they so far apart? Why is one not in close proximity to the other in this enforcement action, right? Backing up the other cop. That is very odd to me. It's just odd.
He
I
does
agree.
come up.
I'm telling you, step over there. It doesn't have to be like this. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Get your fucking hands off of me. Get your hands off of me. Get your hands off of me. Fucking shit. Fuck you. Get off of me. Stop resisting. Get off of me. Get off of me. Get off of me. Stop resisting. Get off of me. Stop punching me. Get off of me. It's just a fucking camera, you dumbass. Get off of me. Get off of me. Let go of my...
The cop seemed to have just stomped on James's camera.
I don't
Stomped
know.
on his
It may have been it may have been some inward aggression towards the flashlight. Might have been stomping on the flashlight or stomping on the, intentionally trying to stomp on the camera, or trying to use his foot to pin his arm down as he was coming down on him, like some taekwondo shit or something or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's subjective.
Fuck you, get off of me. Stop resisting. Get off of me. Get off of me. Get off of me. Stop resisting. Get off of me. Stop punching me. Get off of me.
Well, Tom says he don't hear anybody else that James is arrested.
Get off of me. Let go of my camera, you piece of shit.
Say again.
I said Tom says he don't hear another auditor until James was arrested. I never heard another auditor. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me what the timestamp is.
So that now that brings me from away from the trying to surgically parse what the state trooper was doing to, okay, if it's not an audible thing to confirm, is it a visual thing? So how far, we don't know how far away Pigs Under Pressure was when he made the comment in the chat, and the time on the video, and the calculus of the two to derive to some idea, because we don't know the distance. But we do know that James says something to the effect of, and I'm going to assume because we've done this, right, Cowboy? And the night's come to an end. The carpool situation is over. We're collecting our vehicles, right? So James is
Right.
collecting his vehicle. We don't know how far away or what the distance was, or even where James parked. Sometimes you got to park 3 fucking blocks away because there's no parking everywhere for those 3 blocks. We don't have a distance to gauge how long it would have taken Pigs Under Pressure to get there, and where he is in his location in proximity to the events that are going on in the video. That makes it really fucking hard to determine if there was. What we do know is that the state trooper and the sheriff have no communication between each other, of notable communication with each other about a second variable, right? Pigs in the another auditor coming to a scene, another factor to be factored in, right? Sorry, bad word selection, but doing the best I can.
No, I agree, brother. And I hear where you're coming from. But I will say James was at least 3 blocks away.
Get a
I mean,
camera! Help! Film them! Film it! Help! Stand up. Get a camera!
It sounded like a woman bystander.
Well, I did or do think I heard James holler at somebody to film it. So
Yeah.
who is somebody and who is he asking to film?
Let's listen to that bit again.
You fucking idiot! You're an idiot! I can film you! Keep going, please. Help! Help!
what does he say right there?
Help! Film it!
He's saying, "Help! Help! Get a camera, film it."
So there is another. It's not like they're in a field and there's nobody else around. There's no other external variable to consider, right? He's now talking to somebody else. There's obviously somebody else there, right?
And it
So
sounds
that
like
would
a
be the
woman's
only
voice.
that would be the only time that would be the only thing that I could see as being a possibility of the state trooper not standing right next to that deputy and backing up the thin blue line at that moment. Is that his attention and his focus was to continue securing the scene, right? Total control. Carry on.
Just
No,
play this bit again because it sounds like a female.
Please. Help! Help! Get a camera! Help! Film them! Film it! Help! Stand up. Get a camera! Stand up. Get a camera! Help! They're arresting me for recording us! Let go of me! Where's the supervisor? Where is the supervisor? Help!
good morning, Booty War.
Help!
Hold on, Tom. Now, Tom just made a comment here in the chat. Says when all variables are in place, the issue the cop had was the camera. Final proof, radio in the squad car.
I can't
So
disagree with
do
that.
we? But does somebody already have the audio and video of this? Takes 10 days.
It should, some of it at least should be on the end of this because we've still got 20 minutes of this.
Well,
So
play it on out. I'll try to mute and keep my mouth shut.
Bet you $5 you don't.
So do I send it PayPal?
Told you. You owe me $5.
Get the supervisor now! Yes! You attacked me. I tried to run away from you. I tried to get away from you while you assaulted me.
Tom, I do and will agree. If the cruiser video shows that their only issue was the camera, then absolutely there's an issue.
Well, I disagree that there's no more debate because the second part of this equation is what more can be drawn from an education standpoint as to what other harms are relative to this particular situation, right? It's not just a matter of whether James gets off, whether it goes to the Supreme Court and it changes case law, or to the federal Supreme Court, whatever the case may be. This is a multifaceted, many variables or issues that opportunities to learn from.
Shall I forward it a bit?
Unknown target does make a valid point. I did not see any body cameras in the video from the officers. Did anybody see a body camera on any officer?
Didn't see any body camera, but do know that there's a large potential for there to be a recorder inside the car, for traffic stops and for putting perps inside the vehicle, to ensure that there's no abuse going on between the officer and the perpetrator or whatever the case may be. That cop knows it. If the other auditor is on the scene at that time when the cop comes over and opens up the door, and I believe he does it twice, right? He turns the radio on the first time, and then the second time he opens the door to make an adjustment on the radio or whatever, or maybe to put something inside. But I believe the door opened twice, and we'll see that by watching the rest of the video. But turning that radio on, if he believed that the camera was already shut off, because James probably has the secret dupe app or whatever it is, to where it's just you hit the off button or the kill button or whatever, it gives you a black screen, looks like it was shut off, but it's still recording. It's still doing its thing. It's a spoof deal, right? It's a cloak of sorts. So he thinks the camera is off. The only reason to do that would be to either limit the communication being captured by the recording between the officers outside, and or the now present situation, the secondary situation, or the second situation that they have to deal with the upset auditor or whomever was there. So it's definitely done with the intent to limit the capturing of exculpatory evidence. No doubt.
I
And this
agree,
bit
my
sounds
brother.
like something else turning up. Let's go back a few seconds.
I missed what what you said. I think it was Joe.
I said it sounds like somebody else is turning up, possibly Pigs Under Pressure, but
Okay.
it's at this stage. But let me play it.
What? What are you doing? No, I'm not saying that door. You guys are all on the cease and direct right now. You guys are all on the cease and direct. This is what you said. No, you are on the cease and direct. You guys are in violation of the First Amendment. Back the fuck up. Back away from me. Get peace. Back the fuck up. Back up. Back away from me, dick. Back the fuck up. Back the fuck up. Fuck you. Let him go. 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 Let him fucking go. Let him out of there. You guys violated your fucking rights. You're all under arrest. This is a arrest.
Can you pause it for a second?
Fucking drill.
So here's my question. That's James's camera, correct?
Yep.
So the cop has gone in the car, or because the camera was in the car, right? It was looking at the door handle.
Well, it was on the ground until the cop picked it up.
Okay, so they're going to the car now.
Yeah.
Okay, so pigs under pressure, right? And again, I can't tell by the tone of what's going on, not only because of this video and playing video and all of that stuff and everything. And the reference I made to it being Pikes or whomever it was is that James was live streaming earlier this evening with Pike sitting in the front seat and somebody else sitting in the driver's seat. James was in the back seat. So, so at this point in the video, the cop is bringing James to the car with his camera. So Pigs Under Pressure or whomever it was, the auditor was there as the arrest of James was occurring.
I believe James is already in the car, and now the Leo is picking up James's equipment and taking it to the car.
But if James was in the car, okay, so this is where we're going to see the door panel inside the car, because he's going to put James's camera inside the car.
Yeah.
In other words, he put James in the car, and then he went and got James's gear, and he's bringing his property. Okay, gotcha. So as he's doing that, the other auditor is most definitely audibly heard on the scene.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Let me out! Let me out! Where's my glasses? Where's my glasses? What's your name in your badge number 6? Fuck you, don't fucking someone. Let me out of here! Let me out! I'll try to take you in on the whiteboard at 150. Let me out, man! Control that. Let me out! 3087.
10-4, that 1028's been added to the call. We go 1029.
Or it's going to be, mail associated on the, I don't know if it's URL or not.
152.
So Tom Bellar said earlier in stream, in comments, can everyone agree James took one for freedom? Abso-fucking-lutely.
17-519, the county with 1.
Back your ass, he did.
Get help! Get help! 1313 on 97. Go to the police officer!
And to anybody listening that's got the phone number to that police station, you can go ahead and post it up in here. And I would never encourage anybody to call and redress their government. Not never. But
it's a good number, especially if you have an inclination to possibly be traveling to Arizona at some point in time in the future. You never know. But, police departments, the police are supposed to be our friends. It's good to have their phone number. Neener.
absolutely, and amen.
Yeah, so it's is it a question of or a statement of do not call?
Well, here's my feeling about whether to call or not to call. So back in the days, and I'm sure Cowboy can back me up on this, boots on the ground, the people that were closest, the people that were from that locality, the people that were able to access the jail and the municipal authorities, whatever the case may be, those were the shot callers. So I'm encouraging you guys to leave it at that. If it was something that was desired to be done, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would be watching somebody else's live stream right now.
I have a
That's
feeling
just my opinion.
If the people in this stream call or not, they are already receiving numerous phone calls.
I'd have to agree with you, Joe. I'd have to agree with you.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go a bit further.
I'm not discouraging anybody from redressing their government. That's all I'm saying.
Get my glasses and let me go! Get my glasses and let me go!
Is it not weird that it looks like it's a space age laser gun or something right there?
Just get my stuff and let me go!
Dashboard. Or is that?
Need medical!
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see it's a dashboard now, or it's a door panel.
Kind of looks like a Star Trek phaser to me. Just saying.
More medical! Get me medical now! Get me medical!
So we're in agreement that the other auditor is there. He's yelling and screaming at the cops. That interaction is occurring right as this is occurring, right?
We can't hear him at this precise moment, but we did hear him earlier.
So James is in the back of the cruiser. Okay, I've been there, right? He's looking out the cruiser. He's seeing this interaction going on. He's trying, maybe, just maybe, if we were all watching this as a big screen movie or whatever, we could come to some guess that it just may be potentially James is trying to get their attention on him because his head hurts.
I was going to
If
question.
you're reading, if you're reading into what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, but also, isn't it protocol whenever a taser is deployed for them to call medical?
Actually,
One would think
when it
so. I
comes
can't say.
to,
I can't say for certain, and particularly in that jurisdiction.
I do believe under the guidelines of a taser and shit like that, when a taser is used, medical is supposed to be called, and EMTs or a doctor are the only ones that are qualified. Maybe that's not the right word, but to remove the
That it's a medical
barbs.
procedure to remove the taser prongs.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the prongs
Gotcha.
are used.
Yeah.
It's not the prongs, but just when it's pushed up against the person, there wouldn't be any prongs.
Oh, burn marks. Yeah, it would be the contact point. But there are people that have pacer, heart. What do they call them? Heart pagers, pacers, whatever they call it.
So yeah,
Yeah, there are medical contradictions that can occur from being tased, if particularly if you have some type of ailment of sorts or whatever that would be affected by that, right? High blood pressure, whatever the case might be. So it very well may be. I can't speak factually to that.
yeah.
It would
I'm
make
not.
sense.
I'm pretty sure if they're prongs, then the prongs need to be removed by medical. But I think in any case, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I think in any case a taser is deployed, it's protocol to call EMS.
Joe, I believe you're right. And uh, there's two different ways of deploying a taser. Right up against somebody to where you got the electrode shocking them, or to shoot it to where it deploys the barbs. But either way, I'm pretty sure EMTs or medical is on the list of when that happens.
Yeah, protocol to call them. All right.
I need medical! I need medical!
Tom Bill Ours agrees if they use prong taser, it must be removed by medical.
I need medical! He was punching
Well,
me
not
in
just
the
that,
head!
you can hear James telling him he needs medical. And that's part of being in custody is receiving medical attention if necessary.
Well, we have another consideration here to factor into the equation if we can if we can get some validity to it. As unknown target says in stream, officers discharging the taser shall advise dispatch that a subject has been tased, request that a supervisor respond to the scene. Are you referring to policy or are you referring to that actually occurring in this video?
I
Defend, I do believe that is policy because I do recall James requesting a supervisor on the scene before they ever touched him 3 times
yeah,
or more.
several times, yes.
Very well.
He requested supervisor several times, and you can at the moment he's shouting quite a few times for medical because of both the taser and being punched in the head.
Well, unfortunately, the fact that it's nighttime and it's dark, right, doesn't lend to the preferred daylight, right? The transparency, catching more information, and that sucks. But that's all part of the gig.
I need medical, man. My head hurts. I need some out. My head hurts. I need medical. My head hurts. I need medical now. Give me medical. My head hurts.
Hard to imagine why his head hurts when they stomped on him.
Well, he said he was punched in the head.
Well,
It was a camera that was stomped on.
I'm sure being tased and our not knowing where he was being tased and the adrenaline and the heightened state of awareness, blood pressure and everything else is all added into that equation.
Right, because the police would never tase nobody in an inappropriate or dangerous place.
No, they would always make sure that they tase you in the nuts.
I don't know if you just heard that, but it seems like they're driving away. James is saying, I need medical. And the police is saying, yeah, I heard you. Shall I rewind that? Play it again? Yes? No?
Yes, yes. Please rewind and replay, please.
I need medical.
Yeah. So the police goes, yeah, I heard you. James just said, are you getting them?
I need to get checked out, man. You were beating me in the head. Is medical coming? Are they on their way? Is medical coming yet?
Now, I did hear James say, yes, I need medical because you beat me in the head. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Default 157.
Where are you taking me? Fuck, my head hurts.
All right, unknown subject says the EMS personnel will determine if they can safely remove the barbs on scene or if the individual should be transported to the hospital for the removal. So apparently them barbs can go in deep enough that you need to go see a doctor or get some painkillers to remove it.
Yeah, that's if the barbs were deployed. And I don't know for sure, but from what I'm witnessing, it doesn't seem like they were.
I agree. It seemed like they just held it up to him and squeezed the trigger without deploying the barbs.
Yeah, that's definitely how it appears.
All tasers do have barbs there, Bart. It's just a matter of how they're deployed or how they're used. You got electrodes, and then you got a dispersal of the barbed units that will shoot like a gun. Bart, yours is not a law enforcement taser. Yours is bought off of Amazon where you can hold it up and shock somebody.
Can I just point out that they don't seem that concerned about preserving the crime scene after they've arrested James?
What crime scene? The only crime scene that was in that tape was what the fucking cops done to him. That's the only crime in that tape.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be a massive, effort to preserve the
I think
crime scene after James was arrested. Just wanted to
I
point that out.
think that would even still in an ambiguous fashion support my description of the more than likely potential that the individual was either already arrested and transported or was already secured in the vehicle, and it was more than likely the tail end, the maintenance aspect of doing the paperwork, the property inventory, and the tow truck.
Yeah, in which indicates there was no need
I
to
agree.
tape.
And
Say
unknown,
again?
I do believe you're right. It does not really matter how a taser is deployed. If somebody is put under the torture situation of a taser, I'm
If that level of
pretty
force is
sure
used.
that EMTs are in a doctor is to evaluate the subject that it was used on to make sure that they're not going to die or going to be dead.
Unfortunately, we don't know which car. Well, I guess we could try to rewind to because the state trooper is wearing the blue shirt and the deputy or local LEO, whatever, is wearing the black jacket. So we would know if we got back to the point where he reaches in and turns the radio on, which of the two vehicles that James was put into and who transported him, who was actually driving.
As I can suggest is everybody fill out a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, and get as much information on this ordeal as humanly possible.
I can guarantee you right now, and for the people that are in chat, just to give you a little bit of background that I can lend to the situation with accuracy, um, there is an individual who is very, very, very close to the auditing community as a personal friend of Tuck Police Suck. You may have seen him in various videos when Tuck is at court and or there are some court actions, whatever the case may be. The gentleman that's referred to as Slinky, he is an attorney, a real life licensed attorney.
Well,
So you can bet your ass that's being done.
I believe he was an attorney. I don't know if his credentials are still current.
I don't know if he's active or inactive, but he was a licensed and is a professionally trained and was once a bar member. I don't know if he's if his license is active currently.
Right, so it looks like it's the younger of the two putting stuff in the car.
So if that's the case, then we know that there wasn't a driver inside that car, right? So the driver has to either be in the state trooper car, or as I was pointing out before, when James does that kind of 45-degree angle shot at the white car, and we can see the angle that he's shooting at because the tape is also perpendicular in that in line. I don't know if perpendicular was the right word. Sorry, guys. In line with that angle, 45-degree angle, that there was a space between the white cruiser and the white car, as if there may have been a cruiser there before. But to me, when he was looking at, face on the white cruiser and the white car, there wasn't enough space for another cruiser to have been there. It very well may have been, and I don't know why it would come out that way, but there may have been another. That white car, the local cruiser, may have been in the position of where the state trooper was, right? And the car that the driver was transported in may have been in the position where the white car is as we see it. That car leaves the scene to take the guy to jail. The,
It just
the car that we're seeing where it's at now could have very well just been pulled up so he could get his gear out and the paperwork and all that and everything else. Can you see what I'm saying? Like,
5 feet.
I do not believe that it is a crime scene, a traffic stop, an active, per se, traffic stop, maybe the tail end as far as an administrative portion of the traffic stop, but not an exigent circumstance kind of like, traffic stop, like in process, in progress.
5 speed. Attorneys have to pass a bar exam, and they do get a certification for that. But they do, by my understanding, have to have a license for the state or the states that they practice in. If I'm
Yes, you can
wrong,
have anybody can have a bar card, right? I could be a lawyer in New Jersey and I could be in Arizona. I'm not licensed to practice in Arizona unless I apply or pass the test or take the test or do whatever, go through whatever hurdles or loopholes or what.
all right, folks. 3 minute warning. I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm not sure we're really any closer to absolving this issue as far as Freeman goes. Uh, I do appreciate the conversation, the insight, and the knowledge that all have shared. So, 3 minutes, and I've got to go.
uh, let's should we quickly try and get a bit more of this video played, or
Go
just
ahead,
carry
Joe.
on? We'll see if anything else.
You're right, James. We know medical was not provided on scene. Do believe that. Up, thumbs up.
1728. 1901, I believe we're going 1015. 202.
Skipping forward, we can see if there's anything more of interest.
One unit. 1715, 1716.
Love you, defend. Thank you for being here, brother.
Start deputy, please. From 237, 1750. 1503, went away from area 3. Probably going to need PPD. 10 for, we'll go ahead and update PPD. 1750 from area 3 at 205. 1712, 205. I'm going to head back to 1720. 1719, 205.
Minnesota was arrested, discussing legalities of it.
Seventeen 20 10 4 205.
Apparently, they don't realize he's still live streaming.
Well, until this point where he turns it off.
Unknown target. I do believe James has got a legit lawsuit. So, Joe, thanks for being here. Thank you for playing the video. Bad as I hate to do it, it's time for me to go.
See you later.
Any last thoughts or any last words, Joe?
Just that I'm only here for the money and I bought all my subscribers.
That's
See you later.
funny. Much love, everybody. Thank you for being here. Defend Joe, James Jason, Unknown Target, Myra, all of you. I appreciate you being here. And please leave a thumbs up if you don't mind to. And Magnificent UK, it pisses me off. They must think they've won the World Series when they arrest someone like James. So annoying. Absolutely. Much love, everybody. Thank you. Cowboy out.